In today's age of warfare, our leaders, our presidents, our kings typically do not get involved physically. That proverbial tip of the spear belongs to the common man. That didn't used to be the case, though. Throughout history, kings have been vanquished in battle and perished. We're talking through king movements. There's a few different kinds. There are king walks, there are king marches, and then there are king charges. We're going to look at some top-level games for examples, and then we're going to look at one of my games. And you get to decide, was it a walk, march, or charge? But first, there's something I got to actually grab, so hold on one moment. Yeah, we're at the home of the Whopper right now. Now, you can't go on a king walk if you don't have a crown. Now, the first game we're going to talk about, though, is about the first king of chess. The first world champion, Steinitz. Back in the 1800s, we have a totally sick game where he goes on a voluntary walk with his king.
We're going to start off with e4, e5, and we have a Vienna Gambit, which transposes into the Steinitz Gambit, aptly named for 100% likelihood this dude playing the game is white, a voluntary king walk. Obviously, black's breaking open the position. This is 1872. He does not care about his knight. He says, go ahead and take it. And I'm going to safely put my king here on b8. I'm going after your king. Look at all these pieces staring down at him. I don't know what the heck your king is doing on e2. But I'm going to let you know that he's not going to live there for a long time. Steinitz continues. He moves over to the edge of the board. He's hanging out on b3 right now with his king. And black can't trade queens. And Steinitz is going to take advantage of that. The game continues here. The king's all the way over on a3. Again, now we have this queen trade. And Steinitz is able to trade down material. He's still up a piece here. Obviously, there's a pawn differential. But he just moves forward and is able to convert this game. His planned walk, his stroll in the park, he's able to find a win.
Our first game is a king walk. Our second game is between Kasparov and Kramnik. Two kings in and of themselves. The king ends up getting hunted down. It's more of a forced march at the end. I'd call it a forced march.
This game happened in 1994. They're both in their prime. They're fighting for the World Chess Championship. And the game begins. We have a King's Indian type setup. There's some maneuvering. This knight here seems like it's moving a ton when it ends up on f7. We have opposite side castles. Who's going to be able to attack first? Who's going to be better? Couple more moves. We have this really, really cool outpost for the bishop. It gets traded off. And we end up with this really, really weird imbalance. Kramnik has 2 pawns for the piece. He has 3 pawns for the piece. And then he does an exchange sacrifice. He eliminates this attack that was happening between the knight and the rook. He moves his own piece forward. Black's pawn structure gets damaged. White continues to move forward. All of his pieces are pushing forward. There's these huge liabilities in these far advanced passed pawns. There's 3 of them. Oh my gosh, like look at all 3 of these pawns. That's super, super scary. And now the march begins. It looks dangerous. There's nobody really defending that king. There's somewhat of a forced march. But there's nowhere for black to progress, and these pawns win the day. Kramnik with the win.
That's a king march. And then our final game of the professionals. We're going to get to my game in a second here. The final game we have is with Nigel Short, and his king goes on a charge.
The game opens up with an Alekine's defense or Ayokin's defense or whatever. It's always super scary to face. I never really like facing it because I'm always very, very afraid of what's going to happen. As the game progresses, I actually end up really liking black's position here. You know, e5 seems like this pawn right here in the middle seems like it could be a bit of a liability. Black seems to have equalized, seems to have a pretty good game coming forward with him. And then a couple of short moves later, I really like black's position because, you know, he has the better pawn structure. He has both bishops. And it seems like his play is going to be just a little bit easier. Now the game progresses, and right here, black goes a little bit astray, especially on this last move right here, bishop to g7. He's offering a dark squared bishop exchange, but you'll notice that with this white pawn here on e5 and this weakening of the pawns here in front, this queen is going to end up here on f6 at some point, and it's going to be a really, really big problem. So this offering of dark square bishop exchange really, really isn't the right plan. So anyway, a couple moves later, Nigel Short does trade off that dark squared bishop, and the queen does arrive on f6. And now right here, I'm going to challenge you to figure out what is Nigel Short's next idea going to be. Now, in a vacuum of, okay, I have no idea what the heck's going on, it's probably going to be really difficult to figure that out. In the context of king, walk, march, charge, I think maybe you see the idea. He starts moving his king forward and continues to move forward. And the interesting thing about this position right here, obviously his idea is here, here, and then checkmate's going to be delivered on g7 with the king and the queen, which is super, super sick. The interesting thing about this is that Timman's last move, bishop to c8, is the correct move, but it's just a couple of moves too late. So if we go back here just a little bit, if instead of this rook shuffle, he decides, okay, cool, I'm moving my bishop right here, and let's just put it on the board, the same idea of bringing the king forward just fails to do anything because the queen arrives and is able to trade itself off.
The king moves all the way up the board to help his queen, his mate, deliver checkmate. What can our kings do? What can they say? How can we lead? We're bringing our forces forward, and we're showing them how to take the day. Pretty good poem, right? And win the day, win the battle, inspire his troops. That is a king charge. So, oh, wait, king charge. Oh, let's go! Let's go! Okay, king charge. Yep, king charge. And then our final game is myself playing. This happened just a couple days ago. It was totally sick. I saw the opportunity in order to take it. I had to take it, and then I had a laser focus to the detriment of, better play, of course. And so let's see it. At the end of it, I want you to give me a walk, march, charge rating. See how it goes.
So this game just put a giant smile on my face for the entire day. So the game starts off e4, and we end up in what I'm going to call an improved version of the wing gambit, in the fact that black played c6, then c5, so I have an extra tempo. And it works out into a perfect situation where I get my bishop on d3, I get my other bishop on a3, which really prevents black from ever playing e6 without losing the privilege to castle. I'm super, super happy about my opening right here. Obviously, I'm down a pawn, but that's the whole point of the wing gambit. The game progresses, and that bishop trade does occur. Black is not able to castle. And then g4, the attack begins. g5, and you'll see my knights start planning themselves on the weak squares that black's created on the dark squares. And then with h7, black's position really gets locked down. This queen to c1 move really is trying to prevent this infiltration here into b2. If the queen does go there, I'm not really afraid of a queen trade at this point. With my two knights being right here, my pawn being this far advanced, obviously I'm still down a pawn, but especially in consideration of how bad this bishop is, I would take my position in a heartbeat, even with a queen trade. And so really, really not afraid of that. So that's really the whole purpose of that c1 move. So continuing, this f4 move, I'm actually running out of improving moves. When I played this f4 move, I had an idea of, okay, cool, what am I going to play next? What's my next concept? How am I going to improve my position? So just give it a second, think about it. What is the idea? Obviously, you've been watching this video, so I think you probably see it. I'm going to start moving my king forward. And so as I play this move, my plan is here, 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 here. I'm going to take this pawn. I'm going to take this rook. I'm going to make a queen. And the way I see it, what the heck is black going to do to stop it? Like, what is there? Everything is locked down. I'm super solid. My king's going to be really safe here on g7. It's going to be totally sick. And so the game progresses. I keep moving. Right here, as I continue, I really get a large degree of tunnel vision. We know my plan is to get to g7. But right here, obviously, black's plan is he's going to really get in here, help with the defense. And what I could do instead, and which I really should have done, the best move in this position, and I realized it right after I made my next move, is we should exchange. If we exchange and my queen ends up here on a3, I'm blocking this square. I'm destroying all of black's counterplay. But anyway, I already had my idea in mind. I've got 2 minutes left on the clock. There's no delay. Black has 3 minutes 30 on the clock, so I am in a little bit of time trouble. So I play this anyway. Black plays this. I immediately realize my mistake. I continue forward. Again, I'm missing the entire point. So I've tied down all of black's pieces over onto the king side. Really what I need to do is start creating counterplay. If I move my queen over to the b file, attack this bishop, if the bishop moves, I could move here to b6 and get more pressure on the king. That's the idea. The idea is if I can get more counterplays since I've tied down all of black's pieces, I'm going to do better. But anyway, I'm already into my plan. I'm down to a minute 44 on the clock. My king's all the way over here. Black's king walks away. I attack the queen. The queen goes back. I get afraid because I really, really don't want an exchange sacrifice here to lose my pawn and my knight and my pawn for a rook. Because, I mean, my pawn is super, super strong. My knight is super, super strong. So I move back. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I need to escape out of this situation. After a couple more moves, I get a queen trade. And now it's time for the king to get back into the battle. And I'm able to fork my opponent's rook. And unfortunately, right here, I give up my pawn for the rook. I really should have found a way to prevent that from happening. And we're in this crazy time scramble. In this position right here, black gives up the bishop. I also give up my rook for a pawn and then force a promotion to a queen. My opponent has 3 seconds. I have 5 seconds. I do end up winning on time. Going back to the walk, march, charge, I would like to give you an opportunity to give your opinion. In the comments below, is this a walk? Is this a march? Is this a charge? Obviously, there were a couple of missteps along the way. I did decide, okay, I'm not quite ready for this. And then I did decide, okay, wait, maybe I am. Put your comment below. Let me know what you think.